Hey!
Tries again.
Hey, welcome back to What the FAQ, or What the FAQ, in case you're still kind of new like everyone. I'm Patricia.
Ashley.
Stephanie.
Oh, great intros, guys.
Thanks.
We're back with episode number 2.
Whoa.
We're so
Number
excited.
2, baby.
We made it to the second episode.
No one's died yet. Yet.
I'm
So-
looking at you.
Oh. We were talking about some weird stuff beforehand, and I'm grateful that is not in this podcast.
But fully recorded.
Yeah, it's fully recorded, so maybe
Yes.
someday with some hidden secret episodes, like we'll launch one under a different name. Anyway,
Different identity.
it'll
So
be like,
we've stolen or assumed from somebody else.
what the heck?
Didn't love that. I'm not going to agree with that.
That's gonna be our new technology podcast after this. So anyway, it's episode 2. I think so far we haven't officially launched the podcast. So anybody who's listened to this episode before this, I guess right now we can't really tell what time you're listening to it. However, only people who have really listened to our first episode are like ourselves 100 times each, and some of our close family and friends.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks Stephanie's dad and a few others.
Thank you. Not
So-
my parents.
Yeah, my family's not going to be listening to this. I
My
think.
dad's going to listen to every single one, so just be ready. I will not censor myself in any way for it.
Sorry, Stephanie's dad.
No, he knows.
But I think so far, I guess we can say like we're some of our biggest fans, which is really sad, but it's the truth because that's how this happens when you first start a podcast. But yeah, we're officially launching after we record our 3rd podcast, so that's very soon, and we're really excited to have some people actually listen to us who aren't blood
Just
relatives.
friends.
Who isn't my father.
Or bots.
Or just straight bots.
Or
From
bots.
Russia.
Oh, do we get verification for podcasts?
Moving on.
Oh,
So how was your week, you guys?
are we airing our grievances?
I mean,
Air it.
whatever it takes.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah.
I don't know how to translate that face into words.
It's been a long week for all of us. So currently we all work at the same company, which is how we met. Well, at least how I met these 2 lovely ladies. And we moved buildings this week. So we moved from a decently sized large building into a humongous tower of buildings. Building of towers? Anyway, so it's been kind of a hectic week for us to get things done. But also still rewarding because we get to see each other at the end of the week. Don't give me that
Stephanie's
face.
not convinced.
Stephanie
If it
doesn't
takes
wanna
30 minutes just to get into an elevator to get anywhere, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to bring it up. People are entitled as fuck.
Oh, it's amazing. We should probably do a segment of the entitled folks on Slack.
Just
It's incredible.
as a quick teaser, someone brought in a thermometer to measure if the water was cold enough for them to ingest. I hate that person and likely the rest of their family.
This is tech in Silicon Valley. This is what it's
No
like working
carrots
tech.
in the study, you guys. Don't you dare bring a goddamn carrot
No,
into the goddamn study.
fucking,
It's too loud.
no fucking ants on a log.
No hands on a log for you. Unbelievable. We're there to do work, and everybody's freaking out about the snack situation, and their LaCroix ran out at like 2 p.m. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Listen, when you're fueled on LaCroix like I am, though, what do at 2 p.m.?
you get
You go
water.
It's
Yes.
not cold enough.
And we've come full circle.
It wasn't me who brought in the thermometer, I promise. So if you're new to the podcast, which you are, well, I think unless you watch episodes backwards from like 200, and if we're at episode 200 by the time you're listening to this,
Damn.
congratulations to all of us.
True, and mostly you.
Yeah.
Just you in particular.
Just you in particular. So thank you, person who's doing that.
Or hopefully people.
Yeah.
Or bot.
And if our system of doing the podcast has changed by then,
Or if bots evolve to become human form.
or if
Or if we married bots.
oh, I would so marry a
Oh,
bot.
no, I would totally marry a bot.
Please, why?
I mean,
I
not
don't
all
plan on
of us
having
are
kids
lucky to
anyways.
be getting married like you.
We interrupted each other.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You go.
Well, I was. This is a question for another time, but we talked about this a little bit before. Would you make out with a clone of yourself?
No, definitely not.
Yes.
I would too.
But then I went straight to that Seinfeld episode of Jerry Seinfeld meeting Jeanine Garofalo, who was the female version of him, and how he loved it at first because all he wanted was to be with himself. And then turns out it was not the ideal situation because you do need a little bit of a checks and balance.
And a little bit of surprise.
Yeah.
If you're dating yourself, you know exactly what you're going to do all the time. The spontaneity of it is totally lost.
But what if you don't like surprises? That's like the ideal situation.
Seriously. I don't super love surprises, and I love going to bed super early and
I
just
love
doing
making
nothing.
out. So
You love what?
making out.
Oh,
I don't
making
think
out.
things are
I thought you said
mutually
hulking out, and I was like, interesting.
I respect
Tell
that.
me more.
I love hulking out.
Hulk out.
So anyway, back to the intro we're talking about. We do the podcast in such a way that we each bring an interesting question each week and then discuss it. So as it stands right now, we bring our own questions, but in the future, we will have episodes where we will do your questions. So start thinking of them now. You have about 3 weeks to put your thoughts together, so get on it.
And I will state at the beginning of each episode that I have had at least a bottle of wine already. So let's do this.
2 LaCroix.
I've had some stuff.
Ominous.
Ominous.
So moving on to our first question.
First question, Ashley, is our
of
first.
the podcast. This question today is, what was the most Googled questions in 2018? And I will get into subcategories, but I would love to open the floor. What do you think were like the most Googled questions
Of 2018?
Let's
Probably
let's-
something along
Wait,
the...
wait.
Oh.
Let's take turns so that Stephanie, you go first, and I'll go second, and then we'll just keep going back and forth until we get one that's right.
Okay,
Yes.
well, I mean, going in the direction that we're going in now and figuring that it was 2008, I was when I graduated college.
Wait, 2008 or 2018?
2018.
Oh,
Okay.
18.
18.
Oh, I thought you said 2008. Oh, pass.
Okay, my first question. Justin Bieber naked.
Ew.
Why?
Oh, Chris Hemsworth naked.
Why is everyone naked?
Because he's Thor. And, he's
And it's
hot.
Google.
I mean, all the Hemsworths look like Greek gods.
I
Hemsworth
know.
family photo naked.
Why the family?
Whoa, why would they be naked together?
You just said they all naked, so I would assume.
No, I said they're Greek gods, not that they're
Oh my
naked.
God. 2018. I'm assuming, being where we're at and what we do, something along the lines of an Uber lawsuit.
Oh, interesting, but no.
Something with Trump.
Nope. Last 2 guesses.
2 more. I'm not creative enough for this.
How to install Chrome.
Ooh.
Not far, but
Oh, interesting. Okay, so tech-ish based.
they're a little all over the place.
All over the place, huh?
You're done?
Will vaping hurt my children?
That's an interesting question.
I mean,
no.
as of recent stories, yes. There's like holes in lungs of people.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think we need to talk about vaping in a next segment at another point. However,
Give us
here
a hint.
are the top, I'm going to say top 6 because
Okay.
I wanted the 6th one to be included.
Yes.
The first one was, when are the NBA playoffs? This is by search volume.
Oh, wow.
Where's
Wait, that was
my-
number 1?
That was number 1.
When are the NBA playoffs?
Yeah.
That beat how to install Chrome?
Yes.
Wow.
The second one is, where's my refund?
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
Third, what is my IP address?
I've searched that quite frequently, so that probably is me doing
I've
half
never
that.
searched that once.
You're over 1.8 million people,
I
yes.
do it so much.
Fourth is how to screenshot on Mac.
Okay.
Fifth is who is the richest man in the world? And sixth, which is my favorite, is water wet.
Get out of here.
What does that even mean? Can we talk about that?
Can you break down these searches into the regions in which they were searched? Can you search their IP addresses to figure out how many people asked and where they asked, is water wet?
Where do you think that question would come from?
I feel like I'd alienate a lot of the audience if I were to answer that question.
Okay. How about we get into the questions are then broken down into what questions, why questions, and who questions. So let me share with you some of my favorite of the list and just figure if you've asked them or not.
Okay. This
So
is like a have you ever game.
yeah. For the
take
top
a drink.
asked what questions were, aside from what is my IP address, what time is it? Why would someone ask that question?
On a computer.
On a computer where you already probably have the time,
Or
on
even
the
your phone.
computer. Or on your phone, true.
Does a search include like asking things to your Google Home?
Ooh, does it? Is this like an Alexa,
what?
Google Home?
I like all these
Oh,
data
interesting.
deep dives. Is unclear. I think it was done at an aggregate level. So it's likely mixed with home searches as well as car, phone, desktop usage.
So like if I'm in my kitchen and like,
I was-
hey,
yes.
I'm not going to say the name of it because it will trigger all my devices that I have in my small tiny studio. I would definitely be like, hey, you, what time is it? And then they would tell me.
That's true. I could see that if I was cooking or something. I didn't want to get my
Exactly.
hand. Okay, let's get to the third. What?
Okay.
What is love?
If it
Baby,
don't
don't
hurt
hurt
me.
Don't hurt me.
No
more.
more.
That was our best song, you guys.
That was really
Album
sexy.
comes out later this year.
Watch out. Holiday special. Mariah, I'm looking at you.
Oddly enough, we were talking about the 5 love languages before we recorded or while we were recording. I don't know. Everything's bugged.
What's a love language? A love language. If it don't hurt you.
Whoa.
No
That's
more.
a lot. That's a single.
There's a lot happening there.
That's the B-side.
TM, put my trademark on it right now.
My
In terms of
goodness.
the why questions, those are really weird too. So aside from why is the sky blue, why should we hire you?
Oh.
Why should we hire you? Was
I
a
mean, I
search-
think that's just a
Yeah.
response to people interviewing and like knowing what responses to say when
True.
somebody says, "Why
Mm.
should we hire you?"
Third one is why is education important?
What? What
Because
was important
education's
spelled correctly?
expensive. I'm sure there's a
There are no like qualifying. It's just like the first phrase of the keyword set that asks that question. But this is where it gets weird.
Okay, okay.
The fourth why most asked question is why is my poop green? I have never searched that in my life.
but
You
many
have
people
not-
have.
You have not utilized Google until you've asked that question.
You also aren't that close with your brothers, apparently.
Do you talk about
When
your
I-
poop
yeah,
with
when
your
we were
brothers?
younger. Of course, I feel like all siblings were really gross with each other when we
Did
were
you guys
younger.
show each other your poops sometimes?
No, but I feel like
Do
that question
you
came up.
Look at your stool before you flush.
That's a very different
Mm.
question.
But I think it leads to why is my poop green?
They've done a study on this on how many people actually look versus don't look.
So out of the us three here, who looks at their stool before they flush?
I look.
I mean, haven't we all? We're humans.
Yeah, but do you look every time? Do you like on average? Do you look?
It
at the
depends.
stool?
It depends. This
What-
is
what
all
does
right,
it
it's about to
depend
get
on?
real gross. Let's do this. If you're in a public restroom, sometimes you need to courtesy, and you don't look when you courtesy,
True.
courtesy.
Yeah, you
Courtesy
do the
flush.
first initial flush.
Oh,
so that you don't.
She doesn't
stink
do
up
a
the
courtesy
goddamn
flush,
bathroom.
apparently.
maybe I don't need to courtesy.
You're the
flush.
one. Just kidding.
I'm smelling up, stinking up the toilet room.
Yeah, the poop is green is weird. I can understand when people eat beets and stuff like that, you know?
And they think they're dying.
Yes.
But here's
Like
the thing,
green-
though. The internet is now our in-home doctor, right? And it has been. And this is like something they talked about in like 2000. They're like, oh, people are going undiagnosed because they're going to like MD or whatever. I'm like,
WebMD and Netscape
Yeah.
makes everybody think they're a doctor.
Netscape?
Yeah, there's a
When
Netscape.
was the last time people went on Netscape?
There's like a whole medical field within Netscape that everybody now thinks they're a doctor, and it's not great.
So, but the reason that but people like first self-diagnose whenever they can with the internet, and when you're poop screen, you may not fully understand why it is.
But why that color versus any other color?
I think
Like
that's
if it
probably the
was
most
red,
frequent-
it would
the
freak
most
me out.
frequent non-brown colored poop is green.
It's a
So
vegetable.
you have clearly Googled this before.
I've had green poop.
So what was what
So weird to
what
say.
results came up from that?
I think it's usually like, what did you eat last?
But what was the most common thing? Is it like you're eating too much spinach or
I
eating
don't
too
recall.
much
I don't need to
broccoli?
Google it anymore because obviously I did it like in 2000, so I know now.
Well, we know that this question is now going to gain 3 new searches from us because I just want to see the results.
I don't.
So Ashley's gonna search it 3 times, is what she means.
Apparently. And then lastly, for actually, you know what? for who's the richest man in the world? Who created Kirby?
Okay, no, who's the richest man in the world is interesting because it keeps flip-flopping. In 2018 or 2017, it kept flip-flopping between, like, Jeff Bezos and Microsoft, right?
And Bill Gates.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that is a little bit interesting.
Because that could change day by day.
Because
Well,
it
why
could
do
change day
people
by day
care
depending
about
on the
that?
stocks. Because I just want to know who to be mad at.
Or to idolize.
Would you be mad at Jeff Bezos?
Well, you're asking the wrong
Mildly.
audience, I think.
What does that mean? The only reason why I'm upset at Jeff Bezos is because he like left his like wife for this other entertainment lady in LA.
But she got a lot of money, so I don't feel bad.
Oh no, I mean, but the thing is, and she seems like a good human. She's giving away half of her whole like takeaway to charity.
That is why I think people would search that of like, what's your income versus what's your output to philanthropy. I feel like that would be a very interesting subject because if you're making, $3 billion and you're barely giving any of it away, then fuck you.
But why? He has every right to make his own money, spend it how he wants to spend it. He worked in a freaking garage, like he was selling books out of his garage.
Yes, of course he worked his way up. Are you saying that if you made a ton of money, you wouldn't try to give back even just a little bit?
I
like
think
all of my income aside, my dog goes to my parents, and if my parents aren't there, that goes to my brothers. Everything else just goes to the ASPCA. I like have a written will that just says all of my funds go to the ASPCA.
Who has the right to tell someone else how they should spend their money? It's their money.
Yes, it is their money, but it depends on what they're trying to build. With Amazon, they're trying to build this, worldwide crazy system where they are number one in literally everything. Why can't they also be number one in charitable donations?
I thought Amazon was burning down right now.
Hey, too true.
Too soon.
But
the one thing that Amazon, the website, does that I do super appreciate and I use every time is Amazon Smile.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yes, both Ashley and I did work at Amazon.
Now you know.
I'm a very big proponent of this because I think it's really incredible. Amazon Smile is really, really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you buy things and use Amazon Smile, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to
Blah,
fully
blah, blah,
promote
blah,
it.
blah. What
But
a
you
selling
can
point.
give to charity by buying everything you would normally buy anyways.
Yes.
All I'm saying is that if someone makes their own money from the ground up, who is to say how they should spend their money? That's all I'm saying.
I
Right.
don't
Like-
know. I just think that what if there's like a score? We've talked about like, or I've read a lot of articles about like your social score, right? The whole thing. Like there was like a Black Mirror episode, like you had a social score, and if you
I haven't watched that yet and I'm terrified.
Okay, well,
I
yeah,
haven't
but like
either.
in China, they considered doing something like that for a while, or they were doing something like that, right?
She was looking at me for validation. I'm Chinese. I don't know what she's talking about.
So anyway, as I look over to my dog, I was looking at both of you for validation, because you're my podcasting,
And we're the minorities.
Ooh.
Anyway, so
I'm a minority.
what if there was
Don't give me
what if there was a social score that you had that showed your income to donation ratio?
Mine be pretty good. That's probably why I don't have a lot of money.
But I'm thinking, like, what if you had that though? Do you think like these people who are like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates would? I guess they're both.
Yeah, I guess
pretty
if the same
good about it.
percentage of what I give to the ASPCA
Mhm.
each year was matched with Jeff Bezos, then I would have a little bit more respect for, 10% of your income. Or, no, I don't give 10%.
But what if-
like, X percent goes to something that is profitable to something else versus your own capital gain.
So I think there's a couple things at hand. There's clearly a certain specific bar of money expectation of which at a certain point you should give your money, right? That's what I'm hearing from you. But then the other part is like, what if someone like volunteers their time or gives that money back to their family? But that's not
Why
necessarily
Paul?
like, but I'm saying with the donations part, you see that because that's a like public figure, right? But you're
feel
not
like
seeing
this-
the other part.
I feel like this goes into a much bigger conversation of I have friends who make it the biggest fucking deal
You keep
over
bragging about you having friends.
Well, over
We
like,
talked
I
about-
bought this homeless man lunch. And I'm like, cool, why'd you need to tell me? It's because I needed validation for it.
Mhm.
Where there are certain people who give so much money and don't need to say a word because it just doesn't matter. It's just like, we're doing this for the sake of doing this versus you need to do this for validation of others that you did a good thing and that they know that you did a good thing. So for all we know, Jeff Bezos is giving a shit ton of money to charity and
Mhm.
he's not saying it because he doesn't need to. And To me, that's almost more respectful than somebody
Yep.
who is an outwardly philanthropist of like, oh, I'm giving X% of my income this way because his company already does.
Was that a transatlantic accent?
I
believe
don't
it
know.
was.
I
I'm
go
not
to
sure
a lot
why.
of accents.
I don't know why it became Timesy.
Timesy?
Yeah, I was like, hi, I gave some donations over to the Quickie Mart over there.
Okay,
I
I
don't know
expect
what
that
happened
being
there.
a
It came out of
chameleon
my
Anyway,
body.
in the
What are
first
the-
episode.
Are there any more questions that people have Googled that you want to share with us?
No, definitely the poop being green was the weirdest one.
I don't think that's so weird.
Well, there's another one in the wheres.
Please share this one.
Where am I?
Time travelers.
That is time travelers.
Time travel.
No, that's
it exists.
when am I? When am
Yeah,
I?
So
I don't think anybody would Google when am I.
I might be the first then.
When am I?
When am I, guys?
What does that mean?
What if you greeted the next person you saw outside of our podcast recording here and you're like, when are you?
How do you even respond? I feel like you just be this crazy person on a train.
You're like, right now.
Right.
When are you? Well,
Or you just say, I am everything
I am-
as you walk backwards off the train with your hands out.
So you miss your train so you can do that.
Worth it.
But seriously, why are people Googling where am I?
Well, I guess, again, for your phone.
I would like to challenge this with what was your last Google search?
That you can share.
Look it up. I can totally look up mine. I can
Look up
literally pull up
yours.
Google right
Yeah,
now
do it,
and
do
tell
it,
you
do
what
it.
my last Google search was because I'm pretty sure it was awesome.
Mine was not that cool. I think it was like, where's this restaurant?
Oh, mine was who played the drag Lucy in The Love Guru.
How do I find this?
There's so much to unpack there.
Oh,
What?
The Love Guru is totally underrated and incredible,
With-
but overly racist.
With, what's his name?
Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Super racist, but hilarious, and everybody would do it because it's Mike Myers. You just do it.
He makes.
And there was a
yeah.
drag Lucy in the scene where what's his face drives the bus for all the Lucy impersonators, and he looked familiar, and so I tried to look him up, and I didn't succeed. But that was my last Google search. She rootin' tootin' again,
My dog, you guys. My dog's
Ugh.
birthday was yesterday, so
Oh,
I gave her a few extra treats, and she is
and we're
letting
all
them loose.
suffering for it.
He is letting them loose.
What you can't see is that we all have gas masks on during this podcast.
And she is just laying there like she doesn't care. It's so bad. So my last Google search was how to use a Pins-on bottle opener.
My searches seem pretty boring. Mine literally was like, where is this restaurant?
See, but then if
I
you're
look up
walking
a lot
there,
of restaurants. I love food.
if you're walking there and you're lost, you'd be like, "Hey Google, where am I?" Hey.
No, I think I would just look at a map and be like, this is where I am.
But maybe you are more inclined to see things, and some people are like, "I gotta ask my phone things because I don't want to type because I still type with my index fingers." You know,
Fair. Then another one in the where is liver located?
liver.
Oh, interesting. No, that makes a lot of sense because people are heavy drinkers. They want to know
Are
that
they?
if this thing hurts, is it their liver?
That's a very. You think it's really from that?
Yeah, because
So
I
you-
used to look up all the time before I realized where the appendix was. Like, shit, is this when it's happening? Is this
Where
the
is-
time my appendix burst?
where
It
is
on your
liver?
right side. I don't know where your
I don't
liver
know.
is.
I mean,
But I
Google
know when your
that.
kidneys hurt, it hurts in the back.
Yeah, I had a kidney stone when I was in college playing soccer.
Yeah. Anyways, so there are a lot more questions that we could go into, but I don't want to take too much time from other questions.
Okay,
So I think Patricia, you're
Yeah.
next.
I'm next.
Oh boy!
Woo.
Wait,
All
are
right,
you
guys.
saying my question is the deepest question?
Yeah, we've been trying to put
What?
the deepest question at the end,
Mine is not
or the
that
question
deep.
that enrages the most of us.
It
the
is
most.
enraging.
So Stephanie, forewarning, when we get to your question, her question is very can be enraging.
Can be very
Um,
enraging.
No guarantees though, but we'll see when we get there. So my question for you guys is one that I'm very passionate about and is always in the back of my head for certain reasons, but let me ask it of you. It's kind of a two-part question. Number one, are you superstitious? And part two of it, what are your superstitions?
I have answers.
All right, go ahead.
Go.
So I always thought if I ever went back to grad school, I would actually write a paper on superstitions because
Ooh.
I find them super interesting.
Uh-huh.
I find them a little ridiculous, but at the same time, I do them. One of my favorites is if you break a mirror, you have 7 years of bad luck. That is because the Romans back in the day thought that the mirror took a bit of your soul, and your soul renews every 7 years. So when you break a mirror, it takes 7 years to renew your soul.
Why do they think that your soul renews
I
every 7
didn't go that
years?
deep. But that's kind of the. But that's kind of how it started.
What's my soul cycle?
Right?
Oy.
Your
Ooh.
soul.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, so I haven't done like as much research beyond that with like the black cats and walking under a ladder and whatnot. But I will say to this day, whenever I say something that's a little bit nerve-wracking, I will knock on wood. That does nothing. That literally does nothing. But I still feel the need to do it, and I think that's just kind of built within me as something that I grew up watching.
Watch people knock on wood?
Yeah, my parents used to knock on wood all the time, especially my mother. If you
Okay.
say something like, "Oh, well, I hope this doesn't happen," and then you knock on wood.
Eventually, your mom just walk around the house knocking on all
Just
the wood.
knocking, literally, just as she's
Like,
leaving the door.
I'm cleaning.
She just
I'm
puts
getting
wood
the
on her
cash.
shoes, so she's just like clomp, 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 clomp.
Oh, would that help everything?
I think so.
You just have
That's why the
constant
Dutch-
knocking on wood.
I
why
think
the
you just
Dutch wear
need to
wooden
have
shoes.
like chainmail, but wood mail, like a whole night outfit of wood. Then you never have to knock on anything.
Never
You just
have
like
to
keep
knock.
knocking on your chest like Tarzan.
Just only on your chest, though. Apparently.
Well, I mean, yeah, or your hips, whatever. Okay. Ashley, are you superstitious?
I would say I am. I mean, I do similar things like knocking on wood, but there's being superstitious and then believing in other types of spirits, and I feel like they're cousin-related topics.
Oh, for sure.
So am I gonna like throw salt over my shoulder? No. Do I knock on wood? Probably out of habit and semi-belief, yes.
And when you wear your wooden outfit.
And when I'm wearing my full, knight armor,
Clogs!
this is one example of wooden shoes.
Oh my god! If you wear clogs, you never have to knock on wood again.
Well, yeah.
Stephanie's found the meaning of life, apparently.
Oh, holy shit, it's done, you guys.
Stephanie's gonna
We've
be
done
a
it.
clogger.
We've done it.
We've done
Aside from the kangaroo pouch.
it. Oh, no. And we've gone backwards.
We've gone back. But I believe in spirits,
Okay.
good and bad spirits, and
that they govern your superstitions?
no, but I listen very heavily to my gut, and if I'm sensing that there's something like wrong happening, there's probably a reason why for that, whether that's superstition or like believing or feeling some sort of bad spirit. I listen to that very heavily.
Would you consider burning sage in a new house a superstition or a spiritual belief? Because I've done that in every new house I've been in, not because I wanted to, but because I've lived with somebody who felt very
I
deeply
don't-
within
actually-
I don't think that is up to the act. I think it's up to the person conducting the act.
it, whether they believe. So
Yeah.
is superstition a belief in one's mind versus...
I feel like superstition rides the line between ritual or tradition versus a full belief in the magic behind it.
I think that's actually a very interesting thought because I have a mezuzah on my door, and most will believe
what?
that is a mezuzah. It's a Jewish kind of like prayer, and it's faced inwardly on the door so that it basically says protect all in this house, and it's facing inward into your house.
Okay.
Some will believe that is religious. Some could believe that's superstitious.
Yeah.
I do not find myself very religious, but I do find myself pretty spiritual.
Yep.
And to me, to do that is just like, well, I'm just like checking off a box. And like at the same time, my roommate who's Muslim burns Esfahan, which is the same thing as sage. And we'll have her mother come in and do some prayers, and we have an evil eye up. To me, that's all very spiritual because like hopefully one of us is right. That's all I'm
Hedging
banking
your
off
bets.
of is like, let's hope one of us is correct. I'd like to think there's something greater than myself. I don't know. In religion based, I would be very agnostic,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
But would that be considered superstitious, or is that just spiritual? Is that I don't know what it is.
And cultural too,
And
right?
cultural,
Because
absolutely.
you're like making me think about when during Chinese New Year, or like if you buy a new home for Chinese people, you basically have firecrackers that you do
Yes.
at each entry point to like scare a bad
Inside
spirit.
the house?
No, you're not like, let's blow it up.
Right, that's what I was
No.
thinking.
Burn the shit to the ground.
Then you get the insurance money, and then
It's a
And you
secret.
move. You're always on the move.
yeah, making dat money. No, you take the firecrackers outside, each entryway of the house, and you light the firecrackers basically to scare bad spirits.
Okay.
And I would say that's a very cultural thing, but that's where it's like, is it superstitious? Is it cultural belief?
Yeah.
It's sort of, the lines are a bit blurry.
Yeah. But I think that it is up to the person at that point, too, and what you're going into it with.
Okay, so is the question really, are you superstitious, or are you in a belief that there is something governing whatever it is?
Like,
and
do you find yourself to be, like, would you label yourself as superstitious? So, for me, my dad used to say that I was superstitious as a kid, and it was one of those things that I felt like it was almost a knock on me, so I'd always do things in my mind to prove it wrong. So he would be like, he would see me like watching a game. So I grew up in Nebraska. We watched Nebraska football, and I still do today religiously because I enjoy it, right? But my dad used things like, "Oh, you're standing that way, you're holding your hands that way, you're wearing that shirt because you think if you keep doing that, it's going to continue being good luck for the team." To the point where I got to the mindset in my life where I'm like, I am doing everything I can to be anti-superstitious. So it's almost superstitious that I'm doing that.
True.
So it's kind of coming back on itself. But to the point where I would intentionally step on cracks as a kid.
Oh, I have a story.
And I would walk under ladders intentionally because I'm like, it's almost kind of like saying like F you to the superstition world. Be like, I don't believe this. I don't think there's anything to do with this. But to your point, Ashley, you said about listening to your gut. I think your body has a lot more ability than we really think it does. So when your gut says something's happening here, like, I will listen to that. But if I'm watching a game and my favorite sports team is doing well and I'm wearing a red shirt, the next time I'm going to wear a white shirt intentionally in hopes that they still do well and be like, F you, superstition.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's still
nothing
kind
to
of
do with the
superstitious, though, to do that, you know?
But even when we're talking about listening to your gut, is that a function that you believe is more of a biological thing, or do you think that's like, for some folks, they would believe that's sort of energy reading,
Right.
which is a little bit different in how you read your gut.
Right, and I love ghost stories. I love stories
Me
of spirits and all that. And I think like our Halloween episode is going to be all that, so get excited about that. However, I love those kind of stories, but I still feel a lot of that can be explained. I have ghost stories that I've witnessed or things that I've seen in my life that I will talk about when we come to our Halloween episode. However, I feel all that can be explained away somehow.
Yeah.
And I think even if there are parts of the world or biology or science that we still haven't figured out yet, I think that's the reason for a lot of this stuff. And if you look back a million years ago and you saw people and they're like, oh my gosh, the sun sets over here every day. Like, we know these kind of things and why it happens now, and we can explain it away. But back then we didn't understand that science. I feel like there's science today that we don't understand quite yet that will explain away the magic or superstition in our lives.
Yeah.
I know it's a really boring answer, though.
No, I completely agree with you. I am very excited for said Halloween episode. I'm obsessed with all things paranormal, mostly because I do not believe in them, and therefore if it happens, I'm fucked. Which is what makes it more exciting.
Yeah.
Horror movies are my favorite thing in the world. But to go back a little bit, the superstition, I actually would avoid stepping on cracks. I thought that was a really interesting thing, but I would do it. And then my mom actually did break her back.
It's your fault.
Is it my fault? Ultimately, am I the reason that shit went down?
Maybe, but it's
For
not
my
due
mother's
to
health.
you stepping on cracks.
God damn it. All this time, it was because I fucked up and not because she stepped on that step ladder to fix a light bulb.
Oh,
Stephanie's like, how upset am I at mommy today? Crack or no crack?
Crack or no crack?
all the cracks.
No, I find it really interesting, and I would love to do a follow-up episode on the actual like origin of said superstitions. I really only know the one about the mirror breaking.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there are other ones that have been created because of an actual origin, not just for the hell of it. Nobody could just say, oh, black cat equals evil. Like, that's not just a thing that happens. Something came of it. And so I find it super, super interesting, which is why I wanted to do a little bit more on that, which is why I would do some sort of research paper on it if I could.
Yeah.
But I hate writing and I hate school, so I didn't.
She's
Fair.
like, and reading, so that makes it difficult.
I barely can read to this day. I just have people say things to me and then I reiterate it as if I knew. No. So I find it super, super interesting.
All this to say, though, I will still watch a horror movie or listen to a podcast about things, ghosts and things, and I'll still be scared when I go to bed. I'm not gonna lie about that. Or at my parents' house, if I come up from the basement, I still run up the stairs.
We need to do an entire episode on horror
Yes.
movies. We can't do that now. I could talk for hours upon hours on hours on that. Because there's more to it than you think about, like, horror movies being done at certain decades, resulting around the certain fears of that age. We won't go into it now, but
I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised that you both aren't a little superstitious.
I'm a little
shocked
bit
to
with
learn
the
that.
wood. I knock on things,
But it's more out of like a function of habit
I
than
mean,
it is.
I've got the
belief.
mezuzah. Is the mezuzah spiritual? Is it
I don't know.
superstitious? I don't know what it is. I just do it for the sake of it.
I mean, I'm conflicted with what you're saying because I do believe science can explain a lot of things, but I also think that there's some things maybe you are right that science has not figured out how to explain yet. But the question is, will it ever?
Right.
And what are those things that will it never be able to explain?
Or even if it did, could people accept it?
Also true.
So we're in a place right now where there are things science hasn't explained yet. So ghosts and sightings and all that kind of stuff in such a way that it's okay. If someone 2,000 years from now has all these solutions and looks back in our time, we won't be faulted for thinking something crazy about that or believing in that because that's where we are in this time period, right? I think that's okay. But I still think there's a reason for things happening and there's like some kind of energy in the world that can be scientifically explained. But we don't know how to harness that. We don't know how to read it, understand it, detect it.
That's fair. I mean, that's like saying that you feel specific energies when you're close to an ocean when it's actually like ions or something ridiculous that just makes you feel
those
happier because you're
ions.
near water.
I love ions.
So, do you believe that
Love
people can
ions.
be clairvoyant?
Okay, whoa, this goes
Whoa.
into 3 different topics I have for future thinking episodes.
We can pause. We don't have to answer.
we can pause on this because I do have to pee from all the wine. But
there are a lot of cousin subjects to this that
we cannot go
Heather-
into clairvoyance without going into taboos of religion, without
Save
going
that.
into superstitions.
Save
it can go
clairvoyance.
into so many things.
Save clairvoyance for Halloween episodes. I think we can dive into that a lot deeper.
Also, my mom thinks she's psychic and she thinks I'm psychic.
What am I about to do?
Laugh. Whoa.
Oh no! Okay, so anyway,
We just determined that Stephanie is not psychic.
I'm
we are,
clairvoyant.
we're gonna take a quick break, pause for a non-existent commercial, and we'll be right back. Woo! What a break! I hope you guys all want to buy a Peloton now, because I sure do.
I just had
Oh,
to pee.
Peloton.
Oh.
Fancy.
Well, that's what I imagine our commercial will be someday.
Oh, no. It's usually just me peeing.
The commercial?
Yes.
That's
the break is forced because I drink too much.
Oh, that's a weird commercial.
yeah,
of
we
you
were
peeing.
thinking what
What did you-
product we want to support.
Oh,
us.
what we actually sponsored?
Yeah.
What are you trying to sell with your?
I'm going to
peeing?
go for some sort of winery.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I'm gonna say some sort of dog treat. That's pretty lucrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dog
So
treats you get at
anyway-
wineries while on your Peloton.
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
Please buy now. Use our code WTF.
No.
Anyway, that was a fun question. Thank you for discussing. We're now going to jump to Stephanie, who has a rage-inducing question. So bring it on, Stephanie.
I need the prompt. I don't have it in front of me, but basically, we are 3 people who live in San Francisco who take public transit often. And the
Yes.
one things we notice in transit in San Francisco, and I'm sure in most big cities, is why do people feel the need to play their music or their videos without headphones on, playing it on full blast in a crowded train so that everybody is forced to hear it? I'm curious if this is a form of dominance, if this is a form of making you listen to their music so that they can
She has
be
her air quotes up when she's
big
saying
one
music.
day. You're never gonna be big. Or
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
is this just a lack of headphone situation? Whatever it is, it
Mhm.
pisses me off. I don't want to hear your shitty music or listen to your shitty videos or hear you FaceTiming your friends when you're on public transit. Nobody does. So my question is, why? Is this a form of dominance? Is this a form of
Mating
mass, getting people to listen? I don't know what it is, but it pisses me off because it happens every day.
So this has been Stephanie's Gripe Minute, brought
My
to you by
God.
WTFAQ.
grinding my gears.
Clearly
Yeah, no,
a
it
neutral
really.
question.
What's
It's-
that?
Clearly a neutral question.
Neutral.
I know. I'm sure there's multiple points of it, but god damn, it pisses me off. I don't want to hear your shitty music.
What if it was good music?
If it is, I would probably tell you.
What's the difference between that and someone holding a boombox?
Or
if they did
Also annoying. That's almost a form of what is it called?
noise pollution?
No, not noise
warfare?
pollution, but they're looking for
Antagonizing.
attention, handouts, money. At this time, they're dancing, they're doing whatever to this boombox, whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing whatever you're doing. Like, I don't care what you do, but if you're bothering me in these early mornings or evening commutes, and I'm just trying to get home, or I'm just trying to get to work,
Sour
what is
Stephanie.
the purpose of making me listen to your music when
So-
I have my headphones in at full blast and I can still hear you?
So here's the thing, though. That doesn't bother me as much because I do have headphones and I can put on and I can kind of blur out what you're saying, what you're listening to, what you've got on going in your space. But what bothers me worse than that, but a similar idea, because I live near a street, is that people drive by with their music really loud with their windows down. And sure, that's fine to listen to music really loud in your car, but like keep it to yourself a little bit more, ideally. Or like the motorcycles will drive by playing music. Same
Yes.
idea. They definitely have their windows down.
Absolutely, they're not keeping it to themselves. So why do you think that is? I'm wondering if it's a form of some sort of like power on this train, or knowing that most people are non-confrontational. They're
But
not going to
question
say
for you.
anything to you.
Question for you: have you ever played loud music out of your car while you drove with the windows
Not
down?
with the windows down? No.
So whenever you've played loud music, it's been to yourself with the
I'm
windows up.
extremely non-confrontational.
Okay.
Extremely, to the point where when this happens on a train, all I can do is yell about it on this.
Ashley and I are looking at each other because I think Ashley may have done this before in her life,
Have
like
you?
I have.
If I have, it's on like a freeway when nobody is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
It's
very,
on an
very
abandoned
different.
freeway where there
Yes.
is no one to be seen.
That's extremely
I
different.
love me some dance music by myself in the car.
Very different. I'm saying, is this a form of a protest? Is this a form of
I don't
like
think it's a
a
protest when it's
version
on the
of
bus.
you are now forced to listen, you're now forced to watch this person interact, sing, or listen to this song that you now have to listen to?
Honestly, I think it's just people don't care about other people.
Apathy.
Yeah.
That was going to be my other form. Is it apathy or is it a form of dominance?
It also could be a third thing, which is they have like low EQ or low self-awareness.
I don't
Younger
think
children,
so.
younger
It didn't
children.
used to be
Yeah.
like this. It didn't used to be like this when I was growing up. Like, people weren't just like blasting it, but now you just see people straight up watching Netflix on their
But I
phone,
think
listening
but
with
this-
the volume.
I
up.
think it's due to people who have an addiction to having something going on in their mind at all times, or being force fed to them. And when they don't have their headphones, they've got to have that need.
Yes
But-
and no. I mean, I kind of think back to a time where I've gone to a restaurant and kids will literally be watching on their
Mhm.
iPads or tablets or whatever because parents don't want to deal with them. And now
True.
this outwardly Peppa Pig fucking situation is in my face because parents don't want to deal with their kids at a restaurant.
I
Why
mean-
do I have to deal with that?
I think people just don't give a fuck about other people anymore.
Apathy.
Yeah.
I'm actually more of agreement with you. That is an apathy more than a self-assurance. Listen to me. Listen to what I have to listen to. It's like I know you're not going to give a fuck because I don't give a fuck. So we're all going to just sit here and deal with this.
So think about parents though, like they have noise around them 24/7 because they have kids, right? There's a very rare time that they're awake where it's silent, right?
But I feel like
But
that
doesn't give
just
someone a right.
No, I
but
agree.
that gives them a very low self-awareness of anybody outside of themselves.
Yes, and they don't fully understand someone who's maybe like they don't have kids or they're maybe single and have like they expect a quiet ride into work or quiet ride across the city or quiet ride quiet time in their house and then no one driving by with their music blasting. They probably don't think of silence anymore as much or appreciate it or expect it like maybe someone else does.
I have a hard time. I have a really hard time agreeing with you on this because I think if you just have minutia of like self-awareness, you would realize that you're impacting other people.
I agree.
Correct.
Like, I get on the bus and I saw this one guy and he starts eating these sunflower seeds on the freaking bus. He's spitting out those fucking
Oh.
seeds on the ground.
Yep.
On the ground.
Yep.
He had a bag with him. He did not care. And everyone around him was like, what are you doing, man? And he starts yelling at them. And there's zero fear that he will get in trouble because no one will. You could go into one of the bus stops in downtown. People are straight up shooting up as small children are walking to get the underground bus. And the police are there and they're like, eh.
Bigger things to deal with.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that we should have a police state, but I'm also saying there needs to be some governance because right now, there's literally a problem in our whole ecosystem of our environment. Like recently, my mom was telling me about how there's so much fecal matter in the beaches in California. Why the fuck are people shitting everywhere in public? When did this become acceptable?
I used to work at a water park and in the middle of Nebraska. And let me tell you, it's not just the beaches in California where you find
it's
poop.
everywhere. But is this a form of apathy or is this a form of self-dominance?
I think
that's where I get really concerned about situations.
I think for what we had in the water park was parents with too many things to do, too many kids to take care of. And at that point, they're like, whatever, someone else is going to take care of it.
So it's apathy.
Yeah.
But do you see this in other countries? Like, can you imagine in a place like Japan that people are
no,
just
literally in Japan,
sitting...
if you spit out gum, like you're
That's what I'm
fucked,
saying.
which is, I think, how it should be.
If you bring gum to Singapore, you're freaking caned.
Yeah, you're done.
I have girlfriends who are from Singapore who have told me, like, yeah, at 2 a.m. I can walk around. I totally feel safe because I know the government will protect me.
Yeah.
I zero feel that way in the city.
I literally get on any bus at any time, and I don't know what I'm about to walk into.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as loud music. It could be as harmful as somebody shooting up.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to your question of, like, why are people doing this? I think they know that nothing will happen to them.
Yeah.
So is it an apathy of everybody else just not wanting to be confrontational?
Yes.
And not an apathy, but just an avoidance situation of something worse can come if I step up to this, or do I let it be, knowing that I'm getting off in a couple of stops and just do nothing?
I think people probably could feel like they could stand up, but that doesn't mean that they'll feel protected.
Yeah,
definitely
so
not.
There's like a double layer, right? Like,
absolutely.
I would say I'm very comfortable with confrontation, but if I were to go up to that person, do I feel like the police could get there in time to protect me? Absolutely not.
I was
and
on a
those are
bus
two
one
different
time,
issues.
and there was a guy smoking his cigarette in the back of the bus. And it was a rainy day, which is rare here, but rainy day, so it was muggy out. The cigarette smoke was carrying across the bus. There's a lady by the middle door of the bus, and she yelled back. She goes, "I have asthma. I don't have my inhaler with me. Can whoever's smoking please stop for my health?" And the guy in the back goes, "No." And he walked up to her and started smoking in her face.
Oh my
and
gosh.
she's like, "Please stop. You're going to make it so I can't breathe. I'm already having a hard time." He punched her in the face. The lady who was with the guy in the back of the bus goes, "Grab her purse and get off the bus." So at this point, some other guy punched this guy. The guy who originally smoked, at the next stop, threw that guy out on the street, threw that lady out in the street, took, I think she left a little bag, but took it. And I was just like, but for me, so I could have been the person to stand up and be like, "Dude, stop being an a-hole. Just don't smoke on the bus. You can smoke in a few seconds when you get off the bus." I could have been a person, so could have 25 people on the bus, right? But none of us wanted to get involved in that situation where we would have been trapped on a bus to make that call. But that's more drastic than you're asking about music.
No,
my
no,
question.
no, it's not. It's not.
Why isn't the bus driver saying anything?
Okay,
Where's
I have a story about
where's
this.
the bus driver?
I have a story about this. So, bus drivers have some of the hardest jobs in this, at least in this city.
Yeah.
I can't speak for many others, but bus drivers, they've gone through it. I have had a bus driver actually kind of save my life, and I owe everything to this bus driver. Where it was late at night, I was going to this club called Pop Scene at the time, back when I was in college, and I tried to get on the bus, and literally this man grabbed my arm and tried to pull me off the bus. And the bus driver grabbed my other arm, kicked this guy in the chest.
Whoa.
To throw him off the bus, close the doors, and made sure I got on the bus without him. And I was like, holy fuck, what just happened to me? And the bus driver's like, "You're okay, we're going, we're leaving."
Yeah.
And that's just this bus driver's daily situation, unfortunately.
My question wasn't whether the bus drivers, my statement wasn't saying bus drivers aren't doing their job. I'm saying
No,
what
they
he
definitely
did is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But
But
is
then that
he
kind
even
of-
protected in San Francisco?
Well, so there's a sign that says by penalty of law, if you assault the bus driver, you have this, that, or that, whatever it is. But I think it kind of goes into pick your battles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is, somebody smoking on the bus as big of a reaction as, who knows what this guy's got with him that can make this potentially much more damaging situation than just like, why are you smoking on a bus? Like, what do you have in your head that makes you think it is okay to do this, as opposed to just getting off the fucking bus and just smoking a cigarette on the side of the road waiting for the next one? Like, why do you feel like you have such a power to do this?
It's a form of not so much dominance, but just kind of saying, like, I'm better than everybody else. Or I'm more entitled than everybody else. Same to what we were saying earlier, when the water here isn't cold enough for me to drink.
But it's a very different type of entitlement.
But
it's a different,
entitlement all the
very
same.
different type of person who does this.
Correct. But I think
the characteristic is the same, though.
The characteristics
it's
are
exactly the same. It's just entitlement at different levels.
Where it manifests.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Anyway, though,
I don't know, though.
I'm with you, though.
I gotta ask you, though. There's this question of how do you pick your battles, right? If someone's just smoking in the back passively versus if someone's, like, actively antagonizing and being physical. But how do you teach society if that in itself is an arrogant question. But how do you determine, like, okay, the buck stops here from smoking up, so I don't tolerate smoking at all, and therefore I will definitely not tolerate, like, verbal antagonizing on my bus. Like, why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't it just be like, from this point on, this is not okay?
I feel like this goes to a much deeper situation of us as women. Do we step in for some sort of interaction as smoking or antagonizing versus somebody as a man to do it? As a woman, I do not feel safe to confront anybody on a bus if I'm not literally right next to the bus driver. And believe me, I have confronted a fair number of people who've been terrible on a bus. But when it comes to somebody in the back of the bus, feeling that they're entitled, feeling like, yeah, I'm going to smoke my cigarette. Yeah, I'm going to punch this woman in the face, take her purse, whatever it is. I don't know what this person could then do to me and what could then be done to stop it.
But that's coming from the fact that you do not necessarily feel safe in the environment, which is the part of the problem has been compounded that all this stuff has been allowed. Had this stuff not been allowed previously, you may not have this fear, hypothetically, right?
Hypothetically, for sure, yeah. But
so it's like, how do you fix the problem? Do you just fix, hey, these are just the egregious things that people are doing, or do you say, we do not find any of this acceptable?
Period. I mean, we have a coworker who has caught people smoking crack on a mute or on a BART. What do you do in that situation? What can you do? You're underground. You're literally underground. There is no stop.
I had to hold someone's drugs for them while they rolled their marijuana cigarettes next to me. Maybe marijuana is that's fine here. It's legal here, but he asked me to hold his drugs while he rolled his cigarettes next to me, and I was scared to say no.
It feels almost like testing the limits. Like, how far can you go with this music, this drugs, this altercation?
So I do have to say, let me tell you this one story before we end this. Is that one time I got on the bus, and there's an area that was like the best seat in the bus, but there's nobody sitting there, and the bus was relatively busy at the time, and I was like, oh, free seat for me, and I was so excited. I started to walk back towards that seat, and it was facing the back of the bus, one of those kind of seats, and I love those seats. You have like more leg room, you can have a little bit more space and more freedom. But I went to sit down, and as I almost sat down, so close to the seat, I realized there was a steak on the seat of the bus. Not like a steak that you kill a vampire with, but a steak that you order at a restaurant.
Something you eat.
Like a raw steak?
It was cooked steak, and it was just sitting there.
Did it have accoutrements with it?
It looked like somebody had just cooked it and threw it on top of the seat in the bus. And it was just sitting there. And I almost sat on it. But the funny thing is, everybody just watched me walk back there and get ready to sit down. No one said, hey, there's a steak in this seat. Don't sit there.
What the hell?
A steak's not going to kill you.
No.
A steak's not going to kill you, but you do, like, if you're on the aisle seat and the window seat happens to be just completely doused with some sort of liquid, you tend to tell somebody, hey, this is full of liquid. This is why I'm on the outer seat.
I sat across from the steak.
She wanted the steak.
No, I sat across from the steak, and for the rest of the trip, I took that upon me. And whenever someone would get on the bus, I'd say, don't sit here, there's a steak in this seat. So I was a good person that helped somebody else. However, I never did stop people from listening to music, because I would always just turn my music up even louder. So
absolutely, but that's kind of the state that we're all in, is like, okay, I'll put my ear pods in or whatever, your headphones in, and you just take it up another level or
Yeah.
two so you don't have to deal with it. Is that what everybody's doing? Is that why they feel okay to play their music at full blast? Because nobody's going to stop them. Everybody else is distracted or attempts to be distracted.
What about when people bring live chickens on the bus?
What? I haven't dealt with that one yet.
I have,
What?
and then she killed the live chicken next to me.
Oh, I
On the
lost
bus.
my mind.
On the bus. There's
Oh,
a reason
no.
why I pay premium prices to get to work now to ride an Uber, because I have so many bus stories.
Oh my god! I mean,
true.
I have not dealt with that. The most I've dealt with is literally elbowing people aside just to let me off the bus.
Oh
But
yeah.
fuck, a live chicken.
So this
You don't-
lady came
oh
on.
my god!
We went through a part of town where you might expect this to happen, but this lady got on the
No.
bus. She had like a little blue like grocery bag, right? Like the plastic bags we don't have here anymore is blue. Inside it was like flapping
Oh
around,
my god!
and I was like, "Oh, there's a chicken in there," like or something. I figured it was a chicken. So she was getting tired of it, so she tied up the top of it, hoping to like probably like kill it with lack of oxygen. But it was still bouncing around, and she was getting close to like Market Street, her exit, and she was like, didn't know what to do. Eventually, just took and like snapped its neck, and it stopped moving.
Oh,
And she like patted it and went on, left the bus.
I have tolerances for a lot of things. You can blast your music wherever you want. You can smoke crack, shoot heroin. I don't give a fuck. You fucking touch an animal in my presence,
Yeah.
I will see red.
Oh, I was sick the rest of the day. Like I couldn't handle
I
it.
will fucking kick you
Here-
and punch you. I will do whatever I can to save this fucking animal. And if it's already dead, then nothing matters anymore. And you're gonna get it from me. And like whatever that means, I don't fucking care.
She was like blocking me from the aisle, like she was in my seat
I
with me.
don't give
It
a
was
shit
very
if you're
awkward.
a senior citizen on this bus. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Stephanie's
Oh my
punching
gosh.
the faces.
I'm sorry, when
Nice.
it comes to animals,
Next
I
level.
will cut you.
It was definitely probably her next meal, but it was
I don't
awkward for me.
care.
It was awkward for me.
I do not care.
This
You do
is
not
what's
do this.
So crazy to me. Stephanie, you're like, I'm cool with crack. I'm cool with
It's
weed.
true.
I'm
It's
cool
true.
with heroin.
Harm yourself. Harm yourself. I don't care what you do to yourself. You harm a helpless animal, yeah, I will cut
All
you.
of these things are in the bucket of not fucking okay.
It
But yet, as a
is.
city, we allow this shit to happen, and we put it on a gradient scale of what we're willing to accept. None of this shit is acceptable.
Yeah.
Period.
I think I put a fine line between what you're doing to yourself versus what you're doing
But
to
should-
anybody else or something that can help themselves.
should a child actually see that, though?
No, that's
Well,
what I'm saying. That's why
I saw chickens being killed as
No,
a kid
but-
while they were on the farm.
Oh, I did not.
I think that's a different lifestyle, though, right?
I mean, but we both use chickens to
Was
eat.
it kosher?
That's what I'm saying, though.
What?
Was it kosher?
I mean, I don't really know how to make. I didn't have anybody overseeing.
Blessed
what
by
we're
a
doing.
rabbi?
We were just
Killed
like,
in
"Oh,
a
dinner."
humanely way
Done.
that felt very little pain to no pain.
Anyway, this was a very good Stephanie. Sorry, Stephanie
Heavy.
Gripes.
Sorry,
No,
I have a
it's
lot
good.
of feelings.
No, I think we all have a lot of feelings towards that. But anyway, I think these questions are fun. We listened to Ashley's Google list of questions that we had no idea what any of them were, and why
Look them up.
Yeah, we know we can look up about poop now and why it's being green and, stuff.
And why is water wet?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Anyway, you guys.
In fact, you don't feel wet; you only feel warmth and cold.
Okay, so this has been great. Thank you guys for listening to episode 2. Check us out on Instagram, WTFAQ.podcast on Instagram. We're also at WTFAQpodcast.com. It's our website. Please consider giving us 5-star rating on iTunes. Actually, don't consider, just do it.
Do it, do it, do it.
Do it. And that'll help us grow our audience, get some more questions, and continue doing what we love doing, which I hope you guys love listening to as well. And we will see you guys at episode 3.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Heyo.
Bye, guys.